She didn't just ghost my Rsvp, she burned the bridge and danced on the ashes. Then, Claire waltzed into my party like she owned the place, demanding something so outrageous it left everyone speechless. This wasn't just any party. It was the culmination of 6 months of planning. A backyard bash to celebrate my promotion to senior editor at the publishing house where I'd clawed my way up for a decade. The invite list was tight: family, close friends, a few colleagues who'd become like family. I'd spent weeks curating every detail. Fairy lights strung across the oak trees, a playlist that hit every nostalgic nerve, and a menu that could make a food critic weep. The Rsvp was simple: text or call by last Friday. Everyone responded. Everyone except Claire, my sister-in-law, who'd apparently decided silence was her loudest weapon. Claire and I had history. Not the warm, fuzzy kind. When my brother Mark married her 5 years ago, I tried to welcome her. I invited her to brunches, sent her birthday flowers, even helped her move into their new place when Mark was stuck at work. But Claire had a knack for turning warmth into frost. She'd smile, say the right things, then slip in a barb so sharp you'd only feel the sting hours later. "Oh, Sarah, you're so dedicated to your job," she'd say, her tone implying I was married to my desk instead of a person. Mark swore she didn't mean it, but I knew better. Claire's sweetness was a performance, and I was never her audience. So when she didn't RSVP to my party, I wasn't shocked. Annoyed, sure. Hurt, maybe a little. But not surprised. I texted her twice, called once, even left a voicemail that was embarrassingly polite. "Hey Claire, just checking if you and Mark are coming Saturday. Let me know." Nothing. Radio silence. I told myself it was fine. More room for people who actually cared. I adjusted the catering, cut her and Mark from the head count, and moved on. Or so I thought. The night of the party arrived, and my backyard was a dream. The air smelled of grilled peaches and jasmine. Laughter bounced off the wooden fence as my best friend, Lena, spun a story about her latest dating disaster. My parents were there, beaming with pride, and my colleagues were toasting to my success with glasses of sparkling rose. It was perfect until it wasn't. At exactly 7 p.m., the gate creaked open, and there she was. Claire. Not just Claire, but Claire in a crimson dress that screamed, "Look at me." Her hair swept into an effortless updo, and Mark trailing behind her like a reluctant shadow. My stomach dropped. I caught Lena's eye across the yard. She mouthed, "What the hell?" And I forced a smile, weaving through the crowd to greet them. "Claire, Mark. You made it," I said, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. Mark hugged me, his face apologetic. "Sorry, Sarah, things got hectic. Claire said she'd let you know." "Oh, did she?" I glanced at Claire, who was already scanning the buffet table like a general surveying a battlefield. She didn't meet my eyes, just offered a breezy, "Hey Sarah, great setup. Very quaint." Quaint. The word landed like a slap. My backyard, my pride and joy, reduced to a Pinterest board gone wrong. I swallowed the retort burning my throat and gestured toward the food. "Help yourselves. There's plenty." And there was just enough for the confirmed guests. I'd calculated portions down to the last skewer, assuming Claire's silence meant absence. Now, with 2 extra mouths, I was mentally recalculating, praying the caterer had overestimated. The night rolled on and I tried to focus on the good. My dad's terrible dance moves. Lena's infectious laugh. The speech my boss gave calling me the heart of the team. But Claire was a splinter under my skin. She moved through the party like she was holding court. Her voice cutting through conversations, her laugh too loud, too sharp. Mark stuck close, but I could see the strain in his smile. He knew she was overstepping, but he'd never call her out. That was Mark, loyal to a fault, even when it cost him. Then it happened. An hour into the party, as I was refilling drinks, Claire cornered me by the dessert table. Her plate was empty, her lips pursed in that way that made my skin crawl. "Sarah," she said, her voice low but deliberate, "you didn't save us seats." I blinked, caught off guard. Seats. At the head table. With you and your parents. We're family, aren't we? Her tone was sugar-coated venom, and her eyes flicked to the table where my mom, dad, Lena, and my boss were sitting, laughing over a shared story. The head table, where I'd carefully chosen the people who'd supported me through every late night and missed deadline. The table I'd arranged before Claire decided to grace us with her presence. Claire, I didn't know you were coming, I said, keeping my voice even. You didn't RSVP. She waved a hand, dismissing my words like they were irrelevant. Oh, come on, Sarah. You knew we'd show up. Mark's your brother. And frankly, it's a little insulting to stick us with the randoms. She gestured vaguely toward the other tables, where my colleagues and neighbors were happily chatting. Randoms. My friends. My people. My grip tightened on the picture I was holding. Claire, I planned for the people who confirmed. There's no extra space at that table. Her smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. Then make space. Kick one of your work friends out. They won't mind. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. It's the least you can do for family. The word family hit like a gut punch. Family was supposed to show up, not ghost you. Family was supposed to celebrate your wins, not demand a front row seat to them. I opened my mouth to respond, but before I could, Lena appeared at my side, her arm looping through mine like a lifeline. Everything okay here? Lena asked, her tone light but her eyes locked on Claire like a hawk. Claire straightened, her smile tightening. Just catching up with Sarah. Family stuff. Lena's grip on my arm tightened, a silent signal. I've got your back. Cool, she said, her voice dripping with skepticism. Sarah, your mom's asking for you. Something about a toast. I seized the escape. Right, I'll be there. Claire, enjoy the party. I turned away, my heart pounding, Lena steering me toward the head table. But Claire's words clung to me, each one a tiny cut. Kick someone out. The least you can do. Insulting. She hadn't just crashed my partished, weaponized her presence, turning my night into her stage. As I rejoined my parents, I forced a smile, but my mind was racing. How had it come to this? Claire and I weren't enemies, not exactly. But every interaction felt like a chess game, and she always played to win. I glanced at Mark, who was now standing alone by the bar, nursing a beer and avoiding my gaze. He knew. He always knew. But he'd never stand up to her. Not when it meant choosing between his wife and his sister. The toast went off without a hitch. Me Mom's words were warm, heartfelt, and just embarrassing enough to make everyone laugh. But I could feel Claire's eyes on me from across the yard. Her presence a storm cloud hovering over my perfect night. I told myself to let it go, to focus on the people who mattered. But deep down I knew this wasn't over. Claire didn't just show up uninvited, she came to make a point. And whatever that point was, it was going to cost me. The night wore on and I tried to lose myself in the music, the laughter, the clink of glasses. Lena stayed close, her jokes a shield against the tension. But every so often, I'd catch Claire's silhouette in the crowd, her crimson dress aflare in the soft glow of the lights. She was mingling, charming my guests, acting like she belonged. And maybe in her mind she did. Maybe that was the problem. Around 10 p.m. as the party hit its peak, Mark pulled me aside. His face was flushed, his eyes tired. Sarah, I'm sorry about earlier, he said, his voice low. Claire, she gets ideas in her head. She thought you'd reserved spots for us. I stared at him, the weight of his words sinking in. Mark, she didn't RSVP. I had no idea you were coming. He rubbed the back of his neck, a gesture I knew too well his tell for when he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I know. I told her to call you. She said she did. She didn't. My voice was flat, but inside I was seething. Claire hadn't just ignored my invitation, she'd lied to Mark about it. And now she was here, demanding a seat at my table, acting like I'd wronged her. Mark sighed, his shoulders slumping. She's been stressed. Work's been rough and look, can you just let it go? For tonight. I wanted to say no. I wanted to tell him that Claire's stress didn't give her a free pass to ruin my night. But this was Mark, my big brother, the guy who'd carried me on his shoulders at county fairs and stayed up late helping me with college essays. He was caught in the middle and I couldn't make him choose. Not tonight. Fine, I said, my voice softer than I felt. But Mark, she can't keep doing this. He nodded, but there was no conviction in it. I'll talk to her. I didn't believe him. Not because he didn't mean it, but because Claire had a way of twisting words until they bent to her will. I let him go, watching as he rejoined her in the crowd. She was laughing now, her arm looped through his, her face the picture of innocence. But I knew better. Claire wasn't here to celebrate me. She was here to claim something: attention, status, maybe even control. And I was done letting her. As the party pulsed around me, I felt the weight of Claire's presence like a stone in my chest. I wanted to shake it off, to reclaim the joy of the night, but her demand for a seat at the head table kept replaying in my mind. Kick someone out. The audacity of it burned. This was my moment, my celebration, and she turned it into her own personal power play. I glanced at Lena, who was now dancing with my cousin near the makeshift dance floor. Her laughter a reminder of what this night was supposed to be. I needed to take control, but how? Confronting Claire head-on would only give her the drama she craved. Ignoring her felt like surrender. I needed a middle ground, something to shift the balance without ruining the party for everyone else. I found my answer in the music. The playlist was my domain. A carefully curated mix of upbeat anthems and soulful classics. I slipped over to the speaker system, my fingers brushing the controls as I queued up a song I knew would hit Claire where it hurt. Respect, by Aretha Franklin. It wasn't subtle, but neither was she. As the opening notes blasted through the yard, heads turned, and a few guests let out cheers. I caught Claire's eye across the crowd. She stiffened, her smile faltering for a split second. Good. Let her stew. I rejoined my parents at the head table, my mom pulling me into a quick hug. This is your night, Sarah, she whispered, her voice thick with pride. Don't let anyone dim your shine. Her words were a lifeline, grounding me. I nodded, squeezing her hand, and turned my attention to the guests. I wasn't going to let Claire's stunt derail me. Not tonight. But Claire wasn't done. As the song faded and the party settled into a softer rhythm, she approached the head table again, this time with a plate piled high with food more than any one person could eat. She set it down in front of my boss, David, who looked up, startled. Mind if I join you? She asked, her voice loud enough to carry. Sarah's been so busy, I haven't had a chance to properly congratulate her. David, ever the diplomat, smiled politely. Of course, grab a chair. He gestured to an empty spot at a nearby table, but Claire didn't move. Instead, she stood there, her plate a prop, her eyes locked on me. The message was clear. She wasn't just asking for a seat anymore. She was demanding my attention, my validation, my spotlight. My mom's hand tightened on mine under the table. Lena, who drifted back to my side, leaned in and muttered, She's unbelievable. I could feel the eyes of the table on Mimi, parents, David, my colleague Priya, all waiting to see how I'd handle this. I could have let it slide, let Claire have her moment. But something in me snapped. I'd spent years swallowing her slights, making excuses for her to keep the peace. Not anymore. Claire, I said, standing up, my voice steady but firm. There's no room here. But you're welcome to sit with Mark over there. I pointed to a table where Mark was chatting with my neighbors, oblivious to the tension. I'm sure he'd love your company. Her smile froze, and for a moment I saw the real Claire, the one who hated being challenged. Sarah, I'm just trying to be part of this, she said, her tone dripping with faux hurt. We're family after all. Family shows up. I shot back, the words out before I could stop them. Family doesn't ghost an Rsvp and then demand special treatment. A hush fell over the nearby guests. My dad's eyes widened, and my mom's grip on my hand turned to steel. Claire's face flushed, her lips parting as if to argue, but I didn't give her the chance. Enjoy the party, Claire. But this table's for the people who've been here for me. The silence stretched, heavy and electric. Then Lena let out a low whistle, breaking the tension. Damn, Sarah, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. You tell her. A few guests chuckled and the moment passed, the party's hum picking back up. Claire turned on her heel, her plate still in hand, and stalked back to Mark. I sat down, my heart racing, adrenaline coursing through me. I'd done it. I'd drawn a line. But the victory was short-lived. As the night wore on, I noticed Claire working the crowd, her charm dialed up to 11. She laughed with my colleagues, complimented my neighbors, even helped my mom clear some plates. To anyone who didn't know her, she was the perfect guest, gracious, engaging, warm. But I saw the calculation in her eyes, the way she positioned herself as the wronged party, the misunderstood sister-in-law. By the time the dessert course rolled out, she'd won over half the party, and I could feel the narrative shifting. Whispers reached me. Why didn't Sarah save them a spot? Claire seemed so nice. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. I wanted to scream. This was her gameplay, the victim, rewrite the story, make me the bad guy. And Mark, my sweet, conflict-averse brother, was no help. He stayed on the sidelines, avoiding my gaze, letting Claire spin her web. I felt the ground slipping beneath me, my perfect night unraveling thread by thread. It was Lena who pulled me back. She's not worth it, she said, handing me a slice of chocolate cake. You know the truth. We all do. Let her play her gamesh, not fooling the people who matter. She was right, but it didn't erase the sting. I nodded, forcing a smile, and dug into the cake. The party continued, the music louder, the laughter brighter. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Claire had won something, even if it was just the perception of victory. As the clock ticked toward midnight, guests started to drift home, leaving behind empty glasses and half-eaten desserts. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, but I refused to let Claire see me falter. Then came the final blow. As I was saying goodbye to David and Priya, Claire approached me again, this time alone. Mark was nowhere in sight. Her face was softer now, almost contrite, but I knew better than to trust it. Sarah, she said, her voice low, I didn't mean to cause a scene. I wanted to be part of your big moment. I stared at her, searching for sincerity and finding none. Claire, you didn't RSVP. You showed up unannounced and demanded a seat at my table. That's not how family works. She sighed, her eyes glistening with what I could only assume were crocodile tears. I know I messed up. Work's been crazy and I forgot to call. But Mark and I were proud of you. I thought we'd be included. Her words were a masterclass in manipulation, half apology, half accusation. She was sorry, but I was the one who'd excluded her. I was the one who'd made her feel small. I wanted to call her out, to lay bare every slight, every passive-aggressive jab she'd thrown at me over the years. But I was tired and the party was winding down, and all I wanted was to crawl into bed and forget this night ever happened. Claire, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, if you're proud of me, show it. Don't make my night about you. She blinked, her mask slipping just enough for me to see the anger beneath. But before she could respond, Mark appeared, his coat in hand. We're heading out, he said, his voice strained. Great party, Sarah. Really? I nodded, too drained to argue. Thanks for coming, Mark. Claire didn't say another word. She linked her arm through Mark's and walked out, her crimson dress a fading streak in the night. I watched them go, a mix of relief and regret washing over me. Relief that she was gone, regret that it had come to this. Mark was my brother, my family, but Claire had driven a wedge between us, and I wasn't sure how to bridge it. The last guests left around 1 a.m., and Lena stayed to help me clean up. We worked in silence, stacking plates and folding tablecloths, the weight of the night settling between us. Finally she spoke. You did the right thing standing up to her. She's been pushing you around for too long. Maybe, I said, tossing a napkin into the trash. But it doesn't feel like a win. It's not about winning, Lena said, her voice firm. It's about respect. You set a boundary. That's enough. I wanted to believe her, but the truth was Messier. Claire had crashed my party, demanded my spotlight, and left me questioning my own choices. Had I been too harsh? Should I have saved them seats just in case? The doubts gnawed at me, but deep down I knew Lena was right. Respect wasn't just about showing up, it was about showing up for the right reasons. In the days that followed, Mark called to apologize again, but Claire never did. I heard through my mom that she was telling people I'd overreacted, that I'd made her feel unwelcome. The narrative was shifting just as I'd feared, but I refused to play her game. I focused on my work, my friends, the people who lifted me up instead of tearing me down. And slowly, the sting of that night began to fade. But the questions lingered. Where do you draw the line with family? How do you balance loyalty with self-respect? Claire's actions weren't just about a party, they were about power, about who gets to define the terms of a relationship. And in standing up to her, I'd reclaimed a piece of myself I hadn't realized I'd lost. What do you think? Was Sarah right to confront Claire? Or should she have let it slide for the sake of family? Where do you stand on the balance between standing up for yourself and keeping the peace? Share your thoughts, because sometimes the hardest battles are the ones we fight with the people closest to us.